Your classmates since you left the school, how are they doing?
One of my best friends was there with me the whole time, from the staircase to the classroom to leaving the school, and we've been checking up on each other, and both of us just can't wrap our heads around what exactly happened. Yeah. And it just doesn't feel real, and how she doesn't feel safe.
I bet she doesn't. I think a lot of people watching can identify with your parents and how grateful they must be that you're back, and we are too. Thank you, Haley, for that.
Of course.
Kelly McCann is a former Marine Special Missions Officer and CEO of the Combatives Group. John Iannarelli is a former FBI spokesman and a special agent executive, and they join us both tonight. Kelly, first to you. From what we know about the response of the school and law enforcement, do you think it was adequate? Was the right response?
Sure. I mean, these policies all changed as a result of Columbine, so their job is not to isolate, contain, and control. It's to move directly to the crisis point. You've got to remember that these things, historically, most of the killings done within the first 5 minutes. So when you look at these incidents, it's almost an impossibility for, a SWAT team to roll as quickly as they would need to intervene. It's a difficult situation.
So, John, one of the things that makes this shooting different from most shootings like this is that the suspect is still alive, and presumably he's going to be answering questions soon. If you were talking to him, what would you ask him? How would you get to why he did this?
The first question you're going to ask is, what motivated you to do this? What happened? And then you're going to build from that. You want to know what kind of literature was he looking at? Were there other students that he had conspired with or encouraged him? Or was he on the other end being bullied by other students? Getting to the catalyst can help prevent these things in the future.
Kelly, do you see a thread between mass shootings like this?
Yeah, I mean, these things are anomalous events. There's been attempts to do predictive analysis by computer, by algorithm, by profiling, and none of them have really panned out. I mean, they can give you indications, they can give you tendencies and things like that, but nothing's been 100%. I mean, it's a very, very difficult problem. The problem is a mental health issue, and it's an issue of our society being very tolerant and diverse of kind of extreme behavior. So how do you sort through extreme behavior when everything's okay to find out those particular behaviors that make it not okay? A previous guest said about pictures on Instagram about weapons. There's a lot of people that have pictures on Instagram with their firearms, their hunters, their target shooters, or whatever. So is that a right algorithm to run? Is that going to net gain something in this regard? I'm not sure it does.
So it's not like a higher percentage of the population has firearms than, say, 50 years ago. It doesn't. But we have a much higher incidence of these kinds of shootings. John, what would you be looking at if you wanted to answer that riddle, and I think all of us do, what would you be studying?
Well, there's a lot of different factors that we can use to try to answer that riddle, but your other guest is correct. The reality is these things are going to occur. We have to be prepared for them, and enough of the political nonsense of not talking about it. For example, in the United States, every school conducts fire drills, yet in the past 50 years, we've had 0 fires in schools. But are we conducting active shooter drills where we've had a number of them year after year? This school had a rehearsal in the morning, but are they truly working, and are other schools working at preventing, by preparing children how to respond in these types of events?
It's a great question. How do you respond in this type of event? Kelly, if you were running, you do a lot of training for people, crisis training. What advice would you give to school administrators?
John just made a great point, okay, which is no one takes it seriously. It's not too long ago that these things would be looked at as hysterical. In other words, if someone suggested that a major corporation, a large school, actually have an active shooter drill, there'd be a lot of rolling of eyes, there'd be a lot of talking about nonsense, things that don't matter. This matters. This is not going to stop.
Right.
Okay, these things are historically happening. So the seriousness with which you approach these things, like some of the major corporations that we do training for, they do take it seriously. And we do talk to them in very blunt and realistic terms about the realities of these situations. Unless you take it seriously, nothing's going to happen.
I think maybe part of the reticence, John, is people don't want to scare the hell out of their kids, to be blunt with you, and they're hesitant to take a 6th grader and make him ponder what it would be like to be shot at. Is that a cost that you think we should factor into this?
Well, certainly you want to have training that's age appropriate, but I will tell you, there's a heck of a lot of kids tonight in Florida that are scared anyway because they weren't trained and they weren't prepared. It's more than knowing just to walk out of the building. It's knowing what to do in the classroom, to block the door, to be prepared to fight back if necessary when you have no other choice. Because at the end of the day, I want my kids coming home from school.
Fight back if necessary if you have no other choice. That's not advice I've ever heard the authorities at any level give anyone, though it seems to make sense, an intuitive sense. What do you think of that, Cal?
Well, the government's program, Run, Hide, Fight, they do put it out there. You know, the Department of Homeland Security has got that policy, Run, Hide, Fight. Unusually, in the UK, it's Run, Hide, Tell. They don't even have a fight option. But you have to think about these things in different circumstances. For instance, does it make sense for everyone to pile into a classroom when you could break windows and get out? There's some serious thinking that has to go on with this, and it's not policy that's going to make the difference, right? It's actual training, and it's making people accept the realities of these things happening.
So currently, John, fleeing the building through a window is not something that schools teach their teachers to do?
Unlikely any school in this country is teaching people to do that. But when I go into the corporate sector and do this training, that's exactly what we talk about. Block yourself in away from the attacker, but make sure you have a way to get away. If you can't, make sure you're prepared to defend yourself. In a school, throw chairs, throw desks, throw your backpacks, but make sure you defend yourself long enough to get away.
Yeah, that seems like really wise and common sense advice. Gentlemen, thank you both. Kelly, John, appreciate it.
Thank you.